Bola Tinubu has formally asked the House of Representatives to approve a resolution for the federal government to raise $2.3 billion in external capital. The funds, according to the request, are intended to refinance the 2025 budget. The government is exploring multiple avenues to secure the capital, including the issuance of Eurobonds, obtaining bridge financing, utilizing loan syndication, and direct borrowing from various financial institutions.
As Annexure 2, the proposal is for the House of Representatives to approve the issuance of a standalone debit sovereign sukuk with or without credit enhancement guarantee from the Islamic Corporation for the insurance of investment and export credits. A member of the Islamic Development Bank Group, the indicative timesheet provided by ICIEC in respect of the credit enhancement is attached as Annexure 2. The policy premium for the guarantee proposed by ICIEC is 3.5% of issue amount per annum. If the credit enhancement from ICIEC is taken from the proposed sukuk issuance, 25% of the issue proceeds may be used to repay relatively more expensive debt obligations of the federal government, and the balance will be used to finance the development of pre-identified infrastructure projects. In conclusion, based on the foregoing, I respectfully request the House of Representatives to pass a resolution, 1, to raise external capital in the sum of $2,347,465 United States dollars, comprised of new external borrowing in the 2025 Appropriation Act, $1,229,113, and refinancing of maturing Eurobonds of $1,118,000,000.
The Speaker of the House of Representatives there, Tajuddin Abbas, reading out the resolution. And joining us now to unpack is the co-founder of BudgIT and director of BudgIT US, Oluseun Onigbinde, joining us from the United States. Great to have you in.
It's a pleasure being here today. Thank you so much.
Yes, great to have you in. And of course, this move is to finance the 2025 budget deficit. At present, we're running at multiple budgets concurrently at the same time: 2024 budget, 2024 supplementary budget, and the 2025 budget. And we're anticipating the 2026 budget to be passed in the next couple of months. So what do you make of this move, considering that backdrop? And are there any risks involved in this?
Thank you so much. It's a terrible thing to do. I mean, we should not be doing this at all. The budget is supposed to run in a fiscal year, mostly in a calendar year. Previously, that was what it was. I mean, once the budget ends by December, you can get an extension for 3 to 6 months, which I don't think is ideal. But what we have right now is a confusion of sorts. I mean, we are running, according to popular news, because the government itself have not come out clearly to say how many budget are we running at once. And the danger in this is poor fiscal planning. You also have civil servants and their friends and their what do I call it, entrepreneurs. They will go into those old budgets and keep fishing for items to execute. And most of those items are not of priority. So I think the federal government might be getting it right on the monetary side with the CBN. But on the fiscal side of things, it's not working at all. There's a lack of fiscal discipline when it comes to the federal government. And that also means that we don't have enough data. For example, we do not have the budget implementation report for the last 4 quarters. We don't have for Q3 2024, for Q4 2024, for Q1 and Q2 2025. So we are missing 4 budget implementation reports that should have been provided by the federal government as of today. day. And so those are the issues that even you can't even properly analyze the current financial strength of the federal government revenues, because whatever you hear just news or stories being planted into speeches, there is no official record of that. So I think there's a mismatch when you look at the fiscal structure of this current government. It's not, and that's why you can get so much money, but if it's not targeted, if it's not structured, it's not effective at the end of the day.
And I mean, I was going to ask about the budget implementation report. I remember BudgIT actually put out a report on that. Give us a picture of what this means for taxpayers, the people, right? Running on multiple budgets and no report on how this money is being spent. What does this mean for us? And what can be done about it?
There is a pushback. I mean, thank you so much. There's a pushback on transparency by this government, and I think we need more voices to be able to raise the issues. One is we don't have budget implementation report for around 4 quarters. The DMO also has not published the debt stock report since March 2025. I mean, they're missing another quarter as well. The Treasury reports that used to be published on a monthly basis has not been published so far this year. So that's what our GovSpend platform relies on. Most of the links are not active. Then you also have procurement reports are not updated as well. So there is a big problem around the innovation, around the transparency, which allows other organizations to build their innovative tools or even to increase access to the public. And you cannot be advocating for increased taxes. You cannot be advocating for increased revenue or telling citizens to participate more in the state without having commensurate transparency. So it has to go side by side. The transparency from the side of government and also accountability from regarding those resources. So there is a big problem. The second issue also has to do with the budget. I mean, if you have an haphazard budget framework, then you don't know what is being executed. The budget is the opportunity for citizens to see what the government prioritizes. Now, so we don't even know what the government is currently prioritizing. It was a shocker for me to realize that the government said the implementation of the 2025 capital projects that was signed into law since March or since early of the part of this year is just going to start in September. I mean, imagine the ridiculousness of that. So that means we were just paying salaries from that 2025 budget. Now is when we want to start the implementation of the CapEx. So when do we start the 2026 CapEx project? Now, this haphazard way of implementing national budget, it speaks to something very, very terrible, that this government is just driven more by let's just spend money, let's just spend money. It's not really moving around planning. Budget is your biggest tool of national planning, and you should have a lot of fidelity to it in how it is being used.
Indeed, questions around transparency, especially from taxpayers, and they're looking to widen the tax net. So how is our money being spent? Definitely need for some pushback on that. And I believe, BudgIT as a civic organization will be concerned about that. Let's dial back a bit to some of the measures that have been taken by this administration in the name of fiscal discipline, sustainability. We've had in the past 2 years the managed float of the Naira, or I don't know what name they're calling it now, the removal of petrol subsidy with the hopes that, okay, we'll be able to save some money, borrow less. How would you say this is being reflected in the current debt levels over the past 2 years?
I mean, if you look at it, external debt levels have not risen significantly. Let's not lie. The President Tinubu met Nigeria's external debt around $42 billion. Then we've had, as a March this year, I mean, that's the last time the reports were released, it's around $45 billion. So it's been like a $3 billion increase. We don't know what it would be by the time maybe reports for like September are released. What you also have is that the government has requested maybe a very sizable chunk, around even up to $15 billion or more than that they requested the opportunity to borrow that size of funding. But would they tap into it, that's another question for another day. And also because we are beginning to say that we have more significant funding from revenue, from public revenues. IRS or the NRS is meeting its tax or non-oil targets. We're saying that NNPC is bringing more money to the table because of the PIA. Those are the issues that we are beginning to see. So definitely, if you have significant revenue coming in, it also means that you do not need to borrow at the scale that we used to. The federal government now wants to take on the TSA. I feel like when you look at some of the solutions being brought forward, there is progress, let's not lie, because what you need first is to set a macroeconomic stability. You need to first have some macroeconomic stability. It's like you want to build a house. If the macros are not structured properly, whatever you are building on top of it would not work. I mean, the former government of Muhammadu Buhari did not care about the macros enough. So you find that he continued to print money, he continued to do fiscal investments, but it was still not effective until the whole thing came crashing down. Now you're beginning to build some form of the foundation right again, with the removal of fuel subsidy, with also the changes in the exchange rate parity. But the problem is also the few missing things. Now the fiscal side is not getting enough traction and enough push in terms of discipline, in terms of consolidation. So that also means that you do not get the full size benefits. The other part also you see is that the social protection framework is not been strong enough. I mean, we had billions had been given to people and we don't know who they are. How is that even changing in the dynamics of the country? We know those things are very, very stubborn, but we also don't have enough transparency around it. So when you look at the fact that we have not done the right thing, I usually look at agriculture. I don't think, because if you want to be able to reduce the pains of the current reforms, you need to make food cheaper. We have not invested in agriculture as we should have, at the rate as we should have. So good ideas in terms of the monetary side, but on the fiscal side of things, I don't think the government has been effective. You also look at the custom rates. These are times where you should be able to lower the tariffs and make sure that people are able to do trade from a much more cheaper perspective, because you look at customs, it should be more of a trade facilitation and a revenue generating agency, but that's not been the case in recent times. So I feel like on the fiscal side, the government needs to sit down and say, what do we do differently to lessen the burden, and also on the social protection side. But whatever is doing on the monetary side, it feels decent, and it seems that if it's committed to it, it would work. Other part is also focus on there's so much intention on focusing on what you call legacy project or these big pipe projects. I mean, and you're doing that, neglecting the other key projects that are in the country. So it's all about fiscal discipline to say this is what's most important at this time and will generate the highest number of potential for Nigerians.
Indeed, and I think it just echoes what has been said in the just concluded NES 31 about humanizing our economy. I'll just give you a moment to tie this conversation together and address directly this latest move to refinance the 2025 budget. 25% of that sum is going to the repayment of existing debt. What more can you tell us about this 2.3 billion to be raised in external capital?
I mean, this is why transparency is important. The details are extremely important, because when you get on that $2.3 billion borrowing, you feel like, oh, wow, here we go again. But we need more transparency to the public around this funding. Refinancing with a component of that might be reasonable. Consider that this relatively is concessionary finance, so you're able to look at other finance that you have and reprice them effectively. It's good. What exactly do you do? The remaining 75% is what we need to also interrogate effectively. Are they for much critical national infrastructure? Are they self-liquidating national infrastructure? We need to be able to interrogate that effectively, so that you don't go and borrow money, saying you want to distribute mosquito nets or we also have to interrogate what you borrow for, because external debt is one of the things you need to be very careful about. If you borrow in Naira, you can easily print Naira and maybe you inflate the economy a little bit. But if you borrow in dollars, what you do is that if you do not have the matching power, to prepay that the service, to pay the principal, then you're going to have problems down the line. We are lucky as a country that we relatively have a low external debt, and I'm using the word relatively here. But it also means that we have to be careful because these things build up over time. So there's a need for much more critical evaluation about what is the remaining 75% going to be used for. And also, but more importantly, is the transparency around the fiscal status of the country. We do not have that currently.
So call for transparency and accountability. Thank you so much for your time. Co-founder of BudgIT and Director of BudgIT US, Oluseun Onigbinde.